Share Shootout brought to you by Lion of Africa Insurance, insuring South Africa's future.
Welcome to the most merciless and most ferocious stock-picking show television has ever seen. I'm Bruce Whitfield, right here on a spanking new Share Shootout League, only on CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. Now, why should a president of the Republic live without a fire pool at our expense? With elections just 2 weeks ago, could you tell me if you've made up your mind about where your vote is going? And who other than Al Gore, maybe at a stretch, Miss Earth, actually celebrates Earth Day? Now, we don't have the answers to any of these unfounded and confounding questions. What we do have is a Share Shootout League that is coming to life. And as it stands, if you look at the table, we've got Maverick. You voted for him last week. Sid Vianello, Maverick, ahead with 3 points on our Share Shootout League table. It is early days yet. There's a lot still to play for. We want you to be participating, and we want you to be judging our contestants. I am no longer allowed to set them on fire. How will our next match change the look of the league? We have a man who will not be provoked by impunity. He's a Scottish guy. He goes by the name The Scot, and he's another guy who's not over e-toll. So let's check out today's player. Let's first introduce to you Chris Gilmour, who calls himself The Scot.
Yeah. So I've got to look like it's very important stuff we're doing here. Absolutely. Chris Gilmour, investment analyst with Absa Investments. Investment philosophy is very simple. Buy quality, get paid for holding it, and rarely, if ever, sell. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm getting some cheeky emails here. I think we'll keep that a secret for the time being. I don't want to show my hand just yet. Biggest competitor is the famous Sasha Narushkin. I think so, and I think maybe it's a bit different from previous times. I think the mind is going to be more concentrated now.
I think he's got a good chance. He's got a good chance as any, but his competitor today in this first round for them anyway is going to be, and I don't know how they come up with these names, but he calls himself the good guy.
It's easy when you do it live because then you just keep flowing. Eh? My name's Lavan Gopal. I'm the CIO with Trademar Futures. Because we're a futures trading house, a lot of it is trading single stock futures and the index. We try and be as swift as possible to get in and out of the market. So we look for gaps both up and down to take advantage of these moves for our clients. The game plan, it's a poker game, so you've got to keep a poker face, and we're going to be armed with all this knowledge and research, and we're going to be playing our strategy very close to our chest. So I think it's mainly a knowledge base more than anything. The biggest competitor's got to be Bruce Whitfield. He's always putting us on the spot and he steals all our limelight. I definitely think we've got a very good chance of winning the game. It's like playing poker. So we've got a very good knowledge of the market. We know all the stats and we know when to hold them and when to fold them.
Well, at least he's honest about his biggest competitor, because it's me, but I'm not allowed to set people on fire anymore. You've got to decide who stays and who goes to the bottom of the league table. Them's the rules nowadays. He goes by the name The Scot, Chris Gilmour from Absa Investments, and Lavan Gopal, he is with Trademar Futures. They had to battle it out for an early lead in the league, because everyone knows if you fall back at this point in the league, it becomes that much harder to scramble up to the top with a landslide coming down on top of you. It's a bit dramatic, but that's what it's going to be like over the next 38 weeks or so. So time for the rules. Both of our guests have pre-picked 3 shares. Neither knows what the other holds. Each must accept at least one of their competitors' stocks, and the longer they leave it, the more likely they are to have to accept something they really don't like. The old rule says they've got 30 seconds to argue their stock pick. We'll keep that. The stock pickers can pick from any of the top shares on the JSE. They're also entitled to 1 international stock pick per round from the world's most popular exchanges. It gives them an offshore allowance, so to speak. So now that we've got that out of the way, let us begin. Who wants to go first? Let's be democratic about this. Who would you like to go first, Chris Gilmour?
I would like Lavan to go first.
Lavan, would you like to go first?
I don't mind.
You see, Lavan is a good sport. Okay, Chris, that immediately has turned the viewers against you. You've got a black mark against your name. Okay, Lavan Gopal, let us get your first pick this evening here on Share Shootout League. You know what's at stake here. There's a league table. We've seen who is in the league already. We know that you guys are quivering in your boots because over the next couple of months, Your names are going to be made or broken based on this. That's how powerful the show will be. In 30 seconds, I'd like to know, please, why you like AECI. 30 seconds start now.
Okay. AECI have just sold a tract of land in Modderfontein for R1 billion. And as they've banked that check recently from a Chinese consortium, it puts them in a position to expand into new business arenas as well as enhance their already important suite of businesses. So they are in the chemical and fertilizer space. They've got very good contracts, decent turnover. Earnings have been up almost 40 to 50% year on year. And I believe that they'll be able to continue on that trend.
30 seconds are up. Chris Gilmour, do we like AE? Our good friend David Shapiro still refers to it as AE and CI because 100 years ago when he was young in the market, that's what they were called. But AECI, do you like it?
It used to be called African Explosives and Chemical Industries, or Bang Bangs on the market.
Well, you remember that, don't you?
I remember those days, yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm almost as old as David. Yes. Yeah, look, I actually like this one, and I must confess, it's been more of a property company in recent years, as Lavan so elegantly put it. They've sold out to a Chinese consortium the huge tract of land that they used to require at Modderfontein for safety reasons, which is no longer required because of technology, and now redeploying it into a variety of other areas. And I think it's been very clever, very innovative.
Paul Kruger actually instructed AECI to put the explosives plant there following an explosion in Braamfontein, in which about 100 people were killed. A train carriage overheated during the day. The nitroglycerine exploded and virtually flattened a big chunk of Braamfontein. Some people say that should happen again. Anyway, let's not go there. Lavan, your pick has been accepted, so I'm going to move on from that one. It was an easy sell. He likes R1 billion in the bank, does Chris Gilmour. So you'll take it, Chris Gilmour.
I'll take that one.
Absolutely right. So let us not waste any time. Let us move on to, I think, one of your perennial favourites, Mr. Gilmour. It is perpetually cheap. It is expanding into the United States. It has got projects all over the world. Sometimes those projects work, sometimes those projects fail. Lavan, you know that in the next 30 seconds he's going to be telling you about Sasol.
Sasol, as you rightly say, Bruce, it's cheap. We're talking about PE for this year about 10.5 times, a lot cheaper than its peers, and a dividend yield of about 4.2%. So, it's quite chunky, even though it's had a good run recently. The ethane cracker is going to go ahead in the US. They're cutting costs dramatically with Project Phoenix, looking at about 3 billion rands worth of cost reductions coming through. Oryx in Qatar is going at greater than 90%. Best GTL and CTL technology in the world. I think you wrap it all together. This is a go-go company, and it benefits from a higher oil price and a lower rand-dollar exchange rate.
Stop stealing.
Sorry.
It's not popular. That's 2 black marks against your name already, Chris Gilmour, and the league has hardly even begun.
Right.
Lavan, there's a lot to like about Sasol. There's a lot to be frightened of as well, though.
So they've had a bit of a stumble in the Middle East, and they've poured a fair amount of cash into Louisiana. I think that'll come on stream from next year. It's got fairly diverse income in the space that it operates. So yes, it's got oil, gas, as well as chemical income. It's got the element of geographical footprint, as well as a variety of forex that'll hedge it out. I'm very bullish on it.
You like it? Okay, let me just make
it.
you overly cool. Before you accept it, let me try to sway you on this particular one, because I've just read a fabulous book called The Frackers, Wall Street Journal reporter going into that part of the world where the fracking happens and speaking to the wildcatters, the guys who went in the new energy revolution in the United States over the last 20 or 30 years, and the huge headaches and the pain and the anguish and the suffering and the stress and the trauma that these guys have had. And they've got a 20-year head start on Sasol. Does Sasol have the advantage, Chris Gilmour, as a result of the lessons learned by their rivals, their secretive rivals? Well, they're going to have to go through the same pain in Louisiana in order to get the gas up to the surface.
No, I think they have got that accumulated knowledge. And one of the other things that's happening, of course, is that liquefied natural gas is now coming into its own. You see what's happened with Russia and the Crimea. You're looking at the price of this rising virtually exponentially now. And I think Sasol is going to do particularly well out of that. So yes, I think they've paid their school fees. I think they understand precisely what's going on in the US and in other jurisdictions. So I don't have any concerns about that at all.
And nor does Lavan, because you're going to take it, Lavan.
I'm going to take it. Hydraulic fracturing, or fracking as you put it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Very big in the Karoo. Whilst Sasol's exposure to it is limited, and as we've mentioned, variety of income streams, they're very big with Mozambique gas. So I think the lessons learned from their global ups and downs will put them in good stead in the US.
Well, one looks at the Karoo and one looks at at what government's desperate attempts to stop anybody fracking the Karoo through legislation and through wanting 20% of the company before you even begin to explore. I think it's going to be challenging, and hopefully Sasol gets a bigger opportunity than it does have in the Karoo, because there's got to be gas down there somewhere. You're taking it, Lavan. So your Sasol pick is accepted. We've got terribly friendly and terribly good-natured this evening. It is the first round, of course, for you guys, and so you get to be polite so far. Lavan, I'm interested to see Chris Gilmour, whether or not he doubles up and starts laughing at this next pick, or whether he says, damn, I wish I'd thought of that myself, because it is a gutsy pick. We have seen the retail sector take enormous strain. We've seen the share prices of the retailers take strain. We see the South African consumer overstretched and overburdened. Why at this point would you, I know you get your clothes there, but why would you buy shares in the Foschini Group?
So I'm going short on Foschini.
You're going short on Foschini?
Yeah.
Well, that makes a lot more sense. In 30 seconds, tell me why.
So I'm going short on Foschini at this level of 106 Rand. Their income comes from fashion, jewelry, some homeware. I believe that credit features as an element of their revenue, and in a period of rising interest rates, I think it's going to be more risky in the fashion space. Remember, a number of the players in that credit space, consumers of Foschini, are younger people. So you're offering credit to youngsters. I think that's dangerous. I think retail on the whole is a sector I want to avoid.
Okay, Chris Gilmour. I thought he was going long, and I thought he'd lost his marbles and put them in a little box and buried them really deep. But he hasn't lost his marbles. Foschini, go short on it, would you?
I wouldn't go short. While I agree with the sentiments that that Lavan has come out with in terms of the big picture, yes, they're going to be under pressure because they're a credit retailer. But I think a lot of that, if not all of it, is encapsulated in the share price. So we're looking at a PE of 12 or thereabouts. You compare that to many of their peers in the general retailer space and the food and drug retailer space, which are markedly more expensive. I think Foschini's done an awful lot in recent years to clean up its image, to change its stance in the market. I think it's one of the cheaper ones out there. And I think to go short of something that isn't that expensive relative to its peers.
It's trading on a multiple of 12 times. I mean, usually you want to go short on something trading at 30 or 40 times.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Okay, so you're shooting down the short.
Yeah, I agree with the sentiments, but I'm shooting down the short.
We're shooting down the short.
Yeah.
There's something catchy in that as well. I think we'll shoot down our shorts. Your short is shot down. Let's stop before we get caught short. So, Foschini, your short is shot down. Let's move on to Chris Gilmour, your next pick. And this is, I can't believe it. I mean, you're a Scotsman, right? You don't drink whiskey.
Yeah,
you tasted the stuff. You really don't like it very much. You do, however, like the stuff that was run until fairly recently by a man with a Scottish name, Graham Mackay, did run SABMiller. It's been a phenomenal South African export. It is South Africa's most global local company. But surely it has run too hard to be buying in at this level. In 30 seconds, I'd like you to convince me why.
It's expensive, you're right, Bruce. Depending on your methodology of looking at PEs, it's 23 to 27. It's got the best global footprint out there of any of the global brewers. It's had a tough time in the past year, but prior to that, for the past 10 years, it was the best performer in the one of the best performing sectors in the FTSE. Coming up, there's a possibility, I put it no stronger than that, of Mega Brew, where AB InBev buying it out, and before that, I think they'll buy out Castell's interests in the rest of Africa. So put it all together, it's a great story for me.
Okay, it's brewing and buzzing, and he didn't even need his 30 seconds. Lavan, hard to shoot down SABMiller based on its track record, but I'd like to see you try.
So I'm going to go flat on South African breweries. I think it's a wonderful share. It's run far too hard. Yes, it's got the global footprint, but it may have plateaued in the sense that it's grabbed as much market share as it can. And now it's a case of managing and interweaving the various markets that it's got a footprint in. I also believe that some of the corporate action that we're seeing out there may not come to fruition. They get to a stage where it's too big and it must fail. So I think for that reason, South African breweries, it's got to be flat.
Okay, you're going flat on SAB, not that there ever is. Let's just talk about some of the issues there. Castel is an interesting one. The Castel family, French family, owns probably the second biggest brewing operation on the African continent. SAB has got the right of first refusal should the family choose ever to sell that. Have they given indication whatsoever that they have any plans to do that?
Nope, and I think Deutsche put out a report about 3-4 years ago suggesting that would give them huge earnings accretion if that actually happened. But yes, they've been keeping their cards fairly close to their chest. I think at some point the Castell family will sell. And, you know, between the two of them, breweries and Castell, they cover 44 out of 54 African countries. It really is fantastic. And that's another reason why AB InBev wants this one, because they have virtually nothing in Africa.
But from a regulatory perspective, I mean, Lavan makes the point that this now becomes too big to succeed. Already, these massive brewing conglomerates are complicated enough and across enough geographies as they are. Could you really foresee an A&B InBev buying an SABMiller and having one global mega brew? This is the plot of a James Bond movie.
Yes, I know. Strangely enough, if you actually look at the jigsaw around the world, as we said earlier, SAB's got the best footprint. AB InBev has also got a great one, but it only overlaps in the US, and obviously they'd have to develop.
Because it's a developed market brewer as
right.
opposed to an emerging market brewer.
And it overlaps to an extent in China. Other than that, there's hardly any overlap at all. So the regulatory aspects, in fact, would be one of the least problematic aspects of it.
But wouldn't it burn you to see that deal happen?
I would hate it. I would absolutely hate it.
You would vote against it, as everybody should.
I probably would, but in the first instance, you know, it would be a tough one, be a big conflict here, because there would probably be something of the order of a 30% premium to the current share price.
I'd also like to include that's something we've forgotten to mention with this SAB story. Inputs are on the rise in dollar terms. Never before have we seen grain prices and carbohydrate prices as high as they are. And for a company that's maybe trying to sell into emerging markets with rising dollar inputs, it becomes very difficult to keep margins at the same measure.
Oh, yeah, and that's a valuable point there, Chris Gilmour.
No, absolutely. No, Lavan's absolutely spot on. And that is why about 3 years ago they established a global procurement operation in Switzerland. I think Tony van Kralingen, who used to run the operation here, is in charge of that. And it's been remarkably successful in actually sourcing all of their inputs around the world at the best possible prices.
You shut down all of his concerns, but you're going to shoot it down anyway, Lavan, because you're a smart poker playing kind of guy.
For me, I'm going to go flat on South African breweries. I like it in the past, and I'd probably buy it if it dips. At this stage, I can't justify holding it.
It's too perky for you, so Lavan is shooting it down. Remember, the power is in your hands to decide who wins this particular match. What you've got to do is follow @SSO League and vote for either hashtag the good guy, Lavan, believe it or not, and hashtag the Scot, even more surprising, for Chris Gilmour, and to see who will be the winner of this round. But it's not over yet. They've each still got one stock pick to come. Chris Gilmour from Absa Investments has chosen Sasol and SABMiller. SABMiller shot down by Lavan, but he likes Sasol and he likes the opportunities that are being afforded to that company in Louisiana in the United States. We look at Lavan Gopal from Trademar. His first pick was AECI. Chris Gilmour took it with both hands. He then went short on the Foschini Group. Now, the Foschini Group trades at a multiple of 12 times. It's not expensive. Lavan is going big with a short. Chris Gilmour says he's mad. Well, he didn't say that. I'm paraphrasing. I need to because we're short of time. See you after the break. Welcome back to CNBC Africa. This is Share Shootout League right here on CNBC Africa, the only league that will yet give you a yellow card, but that's only because we have very few scruples. Remember, this is match day 2, and we have a look at the video wall. There you've got Maverick at the very top of the video wall, Sid Vianello, the guy who you voted for last time round. So, is he the guy you want to see win the Share Shootout League, or do you prefer today's contestants? So through your vote on Twitter, one of these lovely stock pickers will change the look of the league. What you have to do is follow @SSO League and vote either for the Scot or the good guy. Before the break, the Scot and the good guy both gave us 2 of their picks. Now, the Scot, just in case you're wondering, if you're a little bit confused, the Scot is the more diminutive man who didn't get much sunshine growing up and didn't drink any whiskey, which is why he didn't develop like Lavan has developed. There we go, Chris Gilmour, Sasol and SABMiller, your picks this evening. He's going to smack me afterwards if he's still around. Chris Gilmour, he likes Sasol. He doesn't like SABMiller. Lavan Gopal, you are a fan of AECI and the Foschini Group. You went short of Foschini Group. We like AECI. We shot down your short on Foschini Group. Chris Gilmour, you need to go first in this final round, and I like your last pick. I think your last pick is incredibly courageous. Do tell me why, in 30 seconds, you are a fan of the fish and chip company owners Taste Holdings. In 30 seconds.
This is a wonderful example of franchising at its best in South Africa, because they have an interesting mix of everything from Tal Hill Wholesale Jewelers through Maxie's, Scooter's Pizza, Fish and Chip Shop, and now Zebro's Chicken. They're targeting, as far as the food side is concerned, the low end of the market. It's a very, very cheap form of protein. It's unbelievably cheap compared to what you can buy in a supermarket. It's expensive, but I think the earnings are going to come through over the next 2 or 3 years and justify the very high rating.
Now, I've always been surprised, within your 30 seconds again, congratulations, the NWJ jeweler thing has just seemed so far removed. But what a magnificent bit of cash flow they've secured from it.
I know, and you know, when this happened a couple of years ago, I was very skeptical. Well, 3 years ago now, I think. And I couldn't quite figure out how the two would fit, because, you know, you're always looking for focus these days. And yet Carlo Gonzaga, he wasn't swayed by this at all. You know, he really is a master franchiser. And I think that's what's really come to the fore. As you say, the cash flow has been fantastic from this part of it.
We tend to think, Lavan, of franchising as food, but franchising, there's something like 1,000 franchise concepts in South Africa. Most of them are rubbish, but the ones that are listed are pretty good. And Taste has got the lower end ones, but they're pretty solid franchises.
So I'm very, very impressed by the management and the way the business has been put together. I am, of course, concerned whether they would be able to hold turnover looking ahead. I've shared with you my concerns about rising interest rates in South Africa. I really believe that the consumer is going to be very choicey about how he spends his money. So he's not going to be throwing money away at fast food. He's not going to be looking to...
You might not go to Burger King and you might not go to McDonald's, but you might go to Zebro's.
Zebro's.
Like zebra, but just with an O.
With an O.
Okay, and you might go to Zebro's instead and get a cheaper fast food meal. People are trading down. They don't want to drop the life's little luxuries altogether. So you go somewhere which makes your rand stretch a bit further.
One of the pluses, I've got to say, for the group is some cheeky advertising that we noticed last year, and that put them on the map. Overall, though, I believe that if people are going to go out, they're likely to go for a brand. They're likely to go for a Burger King, a McDonald's, or a Steers. Some of the taste holding brands require a little bit more goodwill, and for that reason, I don't think the turnover. I'm shooting it down.
You're shooting it down. You're shot down on Taste Holdings. I like it. For the record, I like it. And give Chris a point. Give Chris a point. I think you should. Lavan, from Trademar. Let's go for your final pick this evening. This is an interesting one because this share is perpetually under pressure. It is hugely vulnerable to sentiment towards China. Chinese data is a little bit like a roller coaster. 1 week it's up and 1 week it's down. Tell me why you like the story of Exxaro Resources in 30 seconds.
So Exxaro comes out of the old ISCO stable. It is predominantly a coal operator, whilst they have had other minerals. For me, the true value of this business should be on energy prices and on coal prices. We've seen a short supply of coal in the market now. Eskom complains continuously about it. A lot of industry requires coal as an input, and I believe that with energy prices on the up, the same reason I like Sasol is the reason I like Exxaro. They are going to be paying a very healthy dividend in this period.
And that's the thing. But I mean, we've been caught short by dividends before, Chris Gilmour. When African Bank, for example, people were buying it at $30 and $40 because it had a 7% dividend yield. We know that story ended in tears. So is Exxaro as vulnerable?
I'm not saying it's as vulnerable, but I don't like the coal story at this point in time. I hear where Lavan's coming from, and I don't disagree in terms of gradually rising energy prices generally. But I would rather be in something that's involved with LNG, liquid natural gas, because I think that's where the real action is going to be. Coal is kind of dirty. No matter how nice you make your power stations in terms of scrubbing it, it's still going to be a dirty thing. Secondly, Eskom, I suspect, will, at some point in time in the not too distant future, be able to regard coal as being a natural strategic asset. And will be able to get its prices lower.
That's a big one. That's a big one. If Eskom manages to convince the Department of Mineral Resources that coal is a strategic national asset, the pricing power of Exxaro goes poof.
It's a valid consideration. There's a number of challenges. Yes. You may nationalize a portion of it and it hurts local pricing. You may also talk about alternate energy. There's a variety of issues that can challenge it, none of which have actually come through the door. They've been knocking on that door for a while. For now, I think Exxaro is a buoyant company. It's gone through a little bit of a dive. Players tracked it lower as they knocked down Kumba Iron Ore and a number of related businesses, and so they smacked Exxaro down. I think it's unfortunate. So there's a free 20 Rand in it at least.
A free $20 in it, but you're not buying.
Not buying, unfortunately.
Not buying, so you're shooting it down.
Great, so.
Okay, and that brings us to decision time, and it is your decision time. We'll be tallying votes until midnight on Sunday. Till then, you need to get your friends. You need to get your family members. You need to get pets registered on Twitter. You need to do whatever it takes to get your Twitter score up. We know how Table Mountain became one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It's because Cape Townians voted for it. So you need to get everybody within your organization. Get Maria to vote for you. Who have you got on your side? Nobody. You don't have Maria Ramos on your side, Lavan. So you need to get your friends involved and get them. But seriously, we need you to follow SSO League and vote for one of these 2 gentlemen. Either you vote for the Scot or you vote for the good guy. And right here on CNBC Africa next Tuesday, we will reveal match day 3 when 2 of our 9 players will be making changes to the log. We will do then and we'll tell you who has won. So let's just recap, just in case you suffer from short-term memory loss. Chris Gilmour from Absa, he likes Sasol, SABMiller and Taste Holdings. His Sasol pick was accepted. SABMiller and Taste Holdings shot down as being past their prime. Lavan Gopal from Trademar likes AECI and Exxaro Resources. AECI was accepted, but the short on Foschini Group was also shot down. There's still a grueling 38 weeks to go before we crown a winner of the most remorseless stock picking show on TV. So do follow us at SSO League. Give us your thoughts on the players, the league, and more importantly, their stock picks. If you want to laugh at what they're choosing, by all means do that as well on the World Wide Web so that everyone can see it. Till next week, stay cunning.